In recent years, without doubt, my favourite type of fishing is big natural venues. I love the challenge they represent. I like the fact you don't know what you're going to catch. One day can be a red letter day, the next day could be a blank. But that's the beauty of it, it's the mystery that they represent. So today what I'm going to do is run you through a few of my top tips for getting the most from this type of venue. Right, one of the biggest problems anglers have when they approach big natural venues is where to fish. I've got unlimited open water in front of me today, so where do I go about trying to target the roach, the bream, the hybrids? Well, the answer is every venue is different, but the secret to it all lies in using a bomb to plumb the depth. I cannot, on this sort of venue, just stick up and just say, right, I'm going to fish 40 metres today and just fish there. I don't know what's in front of me. So the first thing I do when I get to a swim, I set up a rod nice and quick, put an ounce bomb on it, and I'll cast it out and I'll just use it to feel it down to get an idea of depth. So what I might have is like 2 to 3 foot for 20 metres and then it starts to drop off. And, well, if that's the case, then I'll try and find a nice consistent area, maybe 6 to 8 foot deep, and fish there. I don't want to be fishing in 2, 3 foot when there's deeper water where the fish are going to feel more comfortable behind it. So once I've decided on the spot, like today for instance, I've chucked the 1 ounce bomb, it's just starting to flatten off at 45 metres. I reckon it's 8 to 10 foot there. You know, I mean, I've probably got 4 foot at 20 metres, just working my way out. Once I've found an area 45 metres where I want to fish, I just swap the ounce bomb for 1.5 ounces or 2. Cast that out. Because the heavier bomb, the 1.5 ounce or 2 ounce, I can just drag it along nice and slow, and it gives me an idea of what I'm fishing on. You know, I mean, if there's a massive weed bed there, obviously I'm going to be stuck in weed. Don't want that. I don't want to be on a bed of zebra mussels, or I don't want to be on an area where the bottom's not clean, so to speak, so it's full of like little stones and stuff. So all I'm doing with the big bomb is just dragging it, making sure where I want to fish, the bottom's clean, so when I do put some bait in, I can fish effectively. Okay, so once you've decided where you're going to fish, today for instance, 45 metres, lovely spot, nice and clear, no weed, maybe a little bit of gravel, but a nice clean spot I'm happy to fish on. The next conundrum is how do you start the session? Well, to me there's 2 ways. If I was going out and out bream fishing, then I would look to put maybe 10 to 12 the big Guru baiting up feeders in at the start. So I'm putting a bed in. But today, it's a little bit different. I've got roach, hybrids, skimmers, bream. I'm looking for a lot of bites, looking to fish fast. And the key word is fast. So what I like to do is, if I'm looking for a mixed bag, start on a decent sized feeder, in this case a 3-hole Guru with 30 gram on to hit 45 metres. And I'll look to cast every minute, 90 seconds maximum for the first hour. So I'm fishing really fast, hopefully catching some fish, but at the same time putting a bit of bait in. So to a degree I'm feeling my way in a little bit. But the secret I've always found to big waters when you're looking for a mixed bag is to fish fast. The fish are tuned into noise, the feeder going in, bait going in, they're responding to it all. So the more you're in and out and the busier you are, the more you're going to catch. So mixed bag, start off fishing but fish very fast. If you're fishing for bream, 10 big feeders and then maybe bait and weight. As far as bait goes, the first thing you've got to decide is whether you're going to use a sweet ground bait or a fish meal based ground bait. Which one you choose purely depends on the venue. Now, for instance, if I know a venue sees lots of pellets, lots of boilies, a lot of carp anglers, then for me that says fish meal is going to work. If fish meal works, it is unbeatable, particularly for bream. But if the venue's quiet, a lot of people fish it, there's definitely no carpers on there, then chances are they won't know what fish meal is. And fish meal isn't an instant bait, it's a bait that they need to be weaned onto. So if that's the case, I'll always go with a sweet mix. Colour-wise, I don't think it's massively important. What I'll say is if the water's clear, which a lot of these big natural venues are, take the edge off it by adding something dark to it. I mean, that's nice. I wouldn't say that's a black mix, but it's nice and dark. It's not going to stand out in the water, so it's not going to spook fish. And if there is predators, they're not going to really stand out over the top of it. So ground bait choice today, for instance, mixed bag, sweet ground bait. The other thing you've got to bear in mind is these fish in these big waters are really, really hungry. So particles are key. I want lots and lots of particles. So when they come into the swim, I can try and hold them for as long as possible. They're almost like, the way I describe it, when they arrive, they're like piranha in the way they feed. Very aggressive, they're close to the feeder, and they just eat, 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 eat. So I'm going to be feeding loads of casters, dead maggots, worms, hemp and corn, just particles. doesn't necessarily matter what the particles are. The secret is to get a large volume of particles in. So every time I fill that feeder, not only have I got the ground bait in it, I'm ramming as many particles in as possible just to try and hold those fish for as long as I can. A really important part of natural water fishing is my setup. Now, firstly, what's on the reel? I'd always use braid on big waters where I'm fishing for silverfish. The reason being, first of all, they aid bite detection. Braid's got zero stretch, so it just makes bites a lot easier to see, and they're accentuated on the tip. The second reason is they make casting easy. The braid I'm using today is 0.10 diameter. That's really fine, less friction on the rings, which in turn means more distance and more accuracy. So it's a win-win situation. Moving on from the braid, I don't want to be casting off the braid, particularly at range. It can cut into your fingers, etc. So for that reason, I'm using a shock leader. Now today I'm using a material that's been quite a while in development, but it's one that I'm really, really happy with, and that's a material called Shield. Now the idea with Shield is it's a purpose-built shock leader material. We wanted something really abrasion resistant and really shock resistant. Abrasion resistance for the reason, on a big Irish lock, for instance, could be coming over the top of a ledge, your line's chafing against the rocks, easily damaged. So the idea with Shield is it's virtually bulletproof. It can take loads and loads of hammer, so it's perfect for feeder fishing. On the shock side, casting a long way into a big wind, can take its toll on what I'd call a normal line. But again, this has got quite a low stretch, so it makes casting a long way that little bit easier. But also at the same time, it can take the shock of the cast, which is hopefully going to minimise crack-offs. Lengthwise, I will vary it depending on the situation I'm faced with, but as a guide, with a 12-foot rod, 3 arms lengths would be my norm. But if I knew there was a lot of structure on the bottom, maybe like zebra mussels or ledges in Ireland, then I'd lengthen it up to sort of 4, 4.5. So it's my leader, as in the Shield, coming into contact with the structure, and not the braid. Braid can be really easily damaged by rocks, so it's important that my leader takes that out of the equation. Setup wise, really simple. Nice little running paternoster I've made myself. 2 number 8 stots, just down to a 3.5, 4-inch twizzled loop. The idea with the twizzled loop is stiff boom, just helps to prevent any tangles. I've got a little loop at the bottom of the twizzle. Again, that's just to attach my hook length to. On the subject of hook lengths, I will vary it for a session, but my starting point is always 50 centimetres, 0.15 end gauge and a size 12 feeder special hook. Yes, that's heavy, but you have to remember this is a wild water. These fish don't really know what hooks and line are, so my approach very much reflects that. One of the questions I get asked the most on social media is how do you tie a shock leader knot, particularly braid to mono? Well, there's loads of different knots you can use, and I could probably name 5 or 6 different ones that all do a job. But for me, the important parts are being able to do it quickly and efficiently on the bank. And that's the reason I go with the one I use. And it's a knot that I was shown by Alan Scotthorne probably 20 years ago. And as a 5-time world champ, I always think, well, if he showed me it, it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. So step 1, take your braid, and I'll just literally tie an overhand loop, inch, 1.5 inches in length in the braid first. Don't want it too long, but equally I don't want it too short so it gets stiff. So inch, 1.5 inches, optimum length. Then take your leading material, in this case Shield, thread it through the loop, and then I'm going to tie a half blood knot. So I'll thread it through the loop, create a loop with the Shield, and go around once, twice, 3, 4 times, then back through the loop I've created, and just pull everything nice and tight, but nice and slow, so it really grips. And sometimes I'll even use my fingers to pull the knot down so it's nice and condensed, really grips, and then give it a proper pull so checking it's not going to slip at all. Once I've done that, just trim the knots on the loop and the actual, obviously, half blood knot with the leader. Trim them really tight. Now, some knots you'll read for shock leader, leave the tags long so they don't jam in the rings. Personally, I think long tags create friction so you lose distance. So trim them nice and tight so it's really streamlined, and every time I cast, they're literally going to fly through the rings. Another important part of natural water fishing is feeder choice. Now, what I always like to do when I'm sitting in the water, just get a bowl full of feeders, like different types that I think I might need throughout a session, just to save me going back and forth. The first point I'll make is, when you're fishing in water like this, it's a big water, and as a consequence, it's a big feeder water. There's no point chucking a little thimble into what I call the abyss. I'm trying to drag fish into the swim, make them have it, so to speak. I can't do that with a little tiny feeder. I need to be getting bait in, I need to be getting particles in, I need to be pulling fish into the swim. So for that reason, I'm a big fan of the Guru Exchange feeders. Firstly, they're a good size feeder. Secondly, what I like about them as well, the body's tapered, so they're slightly fatter at the bottom end. This means they release the bait a lot quicker, something I feel is really important for building a swim. The other point is, you might notice I picked up the cage version. The reason being, I just think a cage offers a lot more in terms of attraction. It's 8 to 10 foot deep out there today. If a bit of bait comes out on the surface as it's falling, I don't mind that, because fish are going to see it, then they're going to follow it down and hopefully end up on the bottom where my hook bait is. So another little point regarding the exchange system is, and what I like about this system for big waters, I can quickly change the leads if I need to. So say today at the minute I'm fishing a 3-hole, but I've got 30 gram on. So that wind got really bad and I'm suddenly struggling, I can literally just take 50 gram lead, clip it on like so, and I'm fishing again. Don't have to take my feeder on and off. It's just really efficient and a really nice little system, particularly for this style of fishing. Alongside, obviously, the cage, always have a few solid plastics with me, just in case maybe I started hitting fish on the way down, and I want to try and have 5 or 6 chucks to get them down on the bottom where my hook bait is. If that's the case, I might just put a plastic on. Have 5 chucks, just fish as normal, but with a plastic feeder, so there's less bait coming out on the way down, get them fish back down on the bottom, and then maybe switch to the cage again. Lastly, and particularly if particles are important, window feeder. I mean, firstly, they cast. If you've never fished a window feeder, they cast. It's like fishing with a straight lead. They make casting absolutely effortless. But if you want to put a lot of casters in, or want to have maybe like an influx of worms into the swim, I can just pile a load of worms into the feeder, into the hole in the window, seal it up with ground bait, 3 quick chucks on a window, and all of a sudden the swim's full of worms, full of attraction, and I maybe get another little run of fish as a result. So 3 different types of feeder, as in the cage, solid plastic, and the window, but they all play their part in this type of fishing. As with all sorts of fishing, wild water fishing as I like to call it, there's lots of little things that can make a difference. I'm just going to show you 3 that I feel are really important. Firstly, hook bait choice. There's no mileage, in my opinion, small hook baits. It's big hook baits, 3, 4 dead maggots, half a dendrobina, a grain of sweet corn. As I've already sort of touched upon, the fish are really aggressive, they feed really fast, they feed really hard on the bait. Big bait, they home in a lot quicker. So if you want quick bites, then use a big hook bait. Tip number 2 is what I call the feeder squeeze. Now, to most people, they'll just load their feeder exactly the same every time. When I'm loading a feeder, I'm always trying to think about what I'm trying to achieve. So if I want a quick release of the ground bait, I just compress it really lightly. But if I want to make sure that it gets right down to the bottom, I'll compress it really hard. So throughout a session, I'll be varying how I'm squeezing the bait into a feeder, depending on how my swim's behaving. For instance, if the bites are all coming quick, then I'll have a little spell of plugging it really hard to get the fish to the bottom where I want them. Maybe if the swim goes a little bit quieter, I'll plug it light, get a bit more cloud, and try and bring them back again. So vary it up and you will catch more fish. Tip number 3 is basically never give in. And one of the beauties of waters like this is the fish can turn up at any time. I can remember one day in Ireland on Crom Lake, that regular visitors to Ireland will know, hour and a half in, basically hardly had a bite. But I kept going, chucking every sort of minute and a half, 2 minutes. And then in 2.5 hours, I put 37 kilos of hybrids in the net. Big hybrids, like £2 a piece. And literally I've had one a cast for 2.5 hours, and then they're gone. And that sums up natural water fishing. You will not bore fish on. So if you're not catching in somewhere like Ireland, chucking out a Coke can and leaving it 10 minutes, you aren't ever going to catch. You've got to keep that feeder going in. You've got to think like a fish. Think of the fact that those fish are swimming around, up in the water, they're looking for food, and they can arrive at any time. And if they arrive and your feeder's falling through the water, and you've got a nice cloud of bait on the bottom, they'll follow it down, they'll start feeding, and as a result of which you'll get a lot of bites. But if you're not active and you're not busy and you've given up, you're just not going to catch any fish.